Welcome back. You're still watching The Breakfast Show live on GTV, and it's the weekend Saturday edition. And I'll say that in the last couple of years, social media has become the big thing or the biggest thing in terms of communication. It's been like the fastest way to spread information, and it's bringing about some changes in communication, especially in the use of English language. So today we are going to be talking about the effects of social media on written English, and I have with me Bernard Kelvin Clive, who is an author, and I'll also be joined by Pearl Agbeto, who is a tutor of English at the Accra Academy. Bernard, welcome to The Breakfast Show.
Thank you, Martina.
How are you doing?
I'm good as gold here.
Yes, and as always, my first, when I meet you for the first time on the show, I wish you a Happy New Year. I'll stop doing that after January, so don't worry. Happy New Year to you.
Many, many happy returns.
Okay. Now we're talking about the effects of social media on communication, especially English, written English. How has it affected the use of English language?
I would say slightly. However, let's look at it from the broader sense, because social media is an extension of one's real life. Most often than not, what one does on social media is a little bit of extension of what he or she does in a real life. So that if the person is not used to speaking good English or writing good English, certainly online I write bad English.
Okay.
So the large extent is an extension of our life. So if the person is very loud or more social, you see the impact on social media. If they are quiet, cool types, you see that. It's only few that the lines will blend in. But most often than not, you see the extension of the person's real life on social media.
Okay. But how has social media affected the rate of communication? Like how we do it is not just the extension of oneself, but what difference has it made?
A lot of difference in so many ways, the good and the bad. And when we look at it, it opens an avenue for you to have connection with people, like in communication, whether verbal or written. You can contact anyone, anywhere, anytime, as with the use of social media. Now, comparing to our written language and communication, like now we have a lot of things that we use to communicate: emoticons, emojis, acronyms, shorthands. So that if I'm on the average not so good with my spoken language or written language, and I can use you, I can use I'll do that quickly to communicate with you.
Okay.
And that is the way I think I can communicate best, without understanding the impact of my language in my communication.
Okay. All right. Pearl, welcome to the show. How are you this morning? Okay. I'm well by grace. What would you say about social media in terms of communication? How has it changed the communication, should I say, landscape? What is it doing?
All right, thank you. I think that social media has changed the speed of communication.
Okay.
So if you want to write something, hitherto you write it fully, complete form. But with social media, you can write it in short form, and then in a short time, you are through with what you want to say. So it has increased or enhanced the speed of communication.
Okay.
You want to say something in a short time, you are through with it because you use the acronyms and those shortcuts and so on.
So the acronyms, is it helping, first of all, those who are already good at writing, and is it helping those who are not even that good at writing when it comes to communicating on social media?
From the first point that I made, that is basically an extension of our real lives and what we do. So that if naturally the person is not good with the spoken or written language, the person will extend that to online.
Okay.
And like Andy said, because there's new ways of communicating, making it easier. You use emoticons, I can put a smiley, I can use acronyms, makes the communication run very fast.
But if a person is already good at written English and they are using acronyms and all that, does it help them, or it's a negative thing on their...
I would say that communication is understanding between two people.
Okay.
So anywhere I can communicate to you by signs or symbols and you understand. But how we communicate at different levels is very important. So if I'm communicating with my colleague, I can use all the acronyms and shorthands I can. A senior colleague, no, I don't need to use such acronyms or emoticons. It depends on the person you're communicating with. The problem is that most people, on the average, use the same emoticons and shorthands for every person. And that is wrong. That's miscommunication. You can't communicate with your superior with that or that your mom with certain acronyms or shorthands.
Okay.
No, I receive most requests maybe for business proposal, or then you have folks using shorthands. Hello, sir, you like, fine, that kind of thing. You put the person off right away. You lose contact right first hand. That's what most people are doing, even college graduates. They are missing it. It's not their colleagues they are communicating. You are communicating with different persons. So immediately you're moving from that cycle, know the language to use. And that's where people are faltering.
Okay. Pearl,
Yeah.
what do you
Please,
say?
you
about-
repeat the question again so that I can.
Okay. Is social media helping those who are already good when it comes to written English and the ones who are not that good? Is it helping them both?
All right. As my colleague said, social media has some advantages. As we said, when you want to use it, it will enhance your speed. But you have to draw the line between where to use social media language and where to use the formal written language. So if you are writing to, as he said, a superior, or perhaps as a student you are writing an essay, and you bring such acronyms in it, those short, it affects you, you lose marks for it. So whether it's affecting those who are already good or who are not good, I think that you must draw the line. If you know that social media cannot be brought into formal setup, you don't bring it there.
So the use of the acronyms,
Yeah.
it's affecting those, even those who are good with written English, isn't? Will you agree with me? Because I want to know if at a point you're communicating with someone and you're a good writer, you write very well, good English, then at a point you forget that you're communicating on a different level and you use acronyms and all that. Does that happen? That's what I want to know.
Yes, it happens sometimes. For instance, I teach, and some of our students, when they are writing the essay,
Yes.
they bring in some of these acronyms, and they lose marks for that because they are not supposed. We are expected to write the standard English, the Queen's English in the essay. So they forget sometimes that they are writing an exams, and they bring it in, and in that way, it costs them.
Okay.
So there are times that people who use the social language forget. And then they bring it to settings that they should not bring it to.
Okay.
So, well, I would say that it affects people who write well and people who do not write well. But the advice I'm giving is that they should draw the line.
Okay.
If you have to use the social media language, use it at a setting that it will not cost you. But as he said, if you are using it to your superior, he says he's put off. So if you send it to that site, for instance, you discourage the person reading it.
As a tutor, what are the most common ones your students put on paper for you?
All right. For instance, if they are writing you, Y-O-U, they'll write you, just you. When they're writing time, they'll write T-Y-M. When they are writing because, they'll write C-O-S or C-O-Z, and many others. They write it, they forget and they write it, and they are penalized for that.
Okay. Well, I'm sure with you, when they put that down, even though it's not acceptable, you understand what they are writing.
Yes,
and you still, you have to mark them down. It's not acceptable.
Yes.
How about other tutors who don't even understand these things? What is their reaction? The first, what do they go through when they see this?
Yeah. So other tutors who do not understand it, if it doesn't, the word does not make any meaning to them, doesn't make sense to them, they will underline it or ring it. And when they do that, it means it's going to attract a penalty.
Okay. Okay.
GM.
Bernard.
When is a GM? HBD. You know, there's no. For formal communications, GM. Last time someone used GM and asked GM question mark. What do you mean by GM? Can't you say good morning or happy birthday? These are simple ways you can communicate.
Yes.
So sometimes it doesn't really even make sense in the whole sentence because of full of acronyms and shorthands.
Yes.
Even among colleagues. So there should be a limit where you need to communicate. Like I mentioned earlier, language communication is about language, verbal, non-verbal. Anyway, you can communicate with your colleagues. But when it comes to the written language, you need to know where to use what and where not to. The extensive use of that will certainly spill over and affect you in your formal writings. And people even send CVs and letters of application with these shorthands in it.
Okay.
Graduate students, a lot of my colleagues who employ folks, if they receive that, these are the ways they can eliminate you quickly. Because when I see these things, I just push them away.
Yes.
So that the student really needs to understand that it's affecting them. One, if they are already good with the language, one or two will affect them, but because they know that this is a formal letter, I'm writing for an application or for proposal, this is what I'm supposed to use. But if you extensively keep on using the shorthands to affect you, I think a week ago, I received a note on WhatsApp. Hello, sir, fine. I mean, that kind of writings, and asked me to help you to publish your book. First of all, an upcoming author writing that shorthands to someone you've never met before.
You need to show that you're able to write well.
That's it. So in that way, you put up for writing. You're going to lose a lot of things, a lot of opinions for you. So, and because these tools are easier to communicate with people, we don't really think deep in whatever we're doing.
Okay.
The fact that I have your WhatsApp number doesn't mean I should send you any message or any way to communicate with you. And that's what we also need to understand, that it's still communication, but how you do it and when you do it is very important.
Okay. But are young people really getting the message that this is really affecting them in terms of even getting jobs and all that? Are they really seeing that effect? Are they getting the message?
Yes. In my circle of friends, we keep on discussing this a lot, and especially those who employ folks and employees. It's affecting them because they bring CVs, they bring letters, whether via mail or print, and we have this shorthand in that. And that's, you're losing job already. You're losing, so they should understand we're still doing it in our own way to let them know that these shorthands are acceptable in your niche, in your small circle, but not in a larger extent, or not in formal writings, and not in superiors or people you communicate with. So when you understand that this is affecting you, then begin to take conscious ways to then correct that. It could be that maybe naturally they're not so much good, or they're not learning the use of the language properly. But if you need a job, if you need to step up your game, you need to drop these things which are not helping you. So we are also communicating, and I think that program is also helping people.
Okay. Bro, in your school, what are some of the things you're doing to create that awareness?
Yes, apart from penalizing them, apart from them losing marks, when we are discussing their work, we draw their attention to it. But unfortunately, the next time you give them the work, it comes in again. Perhaps they don't go over the essay they write. So because they are writing and they are used to it, sort of, they would bring it in. But if they had gone over the work, they would have seen it and would have corrected it. So I think it's having effect on them. So we have to continue to educate them and guide them to know where to use it and where not to use it.
It looks like even asking them to know where to use it and where not to use it, it's not even helping then. Because if you're still letting them know that you can use it when you're chatting or interacting with your friends, but not when you're doing academic work, they are not getting that message. So they really have to be encouraged to stop, don't you think?
For stopping, I wonder if it will stop, because it looks as if it has come to stay and it will grow more. So we just have to draw their minds to it, that when you are writing in a formal setting, manage not to use those short forms, those acronyms. Or if you are the type that perhaps you have become that used to, and so you forget and bring it in, make time to read over your work. Then if you do that, you can notice them and correct them before you submit it, because it costs you when you write such words in your essay or in your writing, formal writing. So maybe that's how we can do it. But if you may tell them, but whether they will stop is another issue. Because,
does it also bring about the issue with academic work that a lot of students these days don't even get people to edit their papers and all that? So even when they put these things down and they don't notice it themselves, when you have someone take a look at your paper, at least they should be able to notice these things.
Well, with the senior high school, it's under examination
Okay.
condition, you write exam and you submit
So
your
it's
paper.
not even a
So nobody, the one who read through is the one giving you the marks.
How about the universities and those ones?
You know, we can tackle
Your
this.
term papers
Yeah,
and
we can tackle this from an angle like this.
okay.
Parents, teachers, colleagues, we can all address this issue
Okay.
in this way. What I tell especially parents is that it's not what you leave for your children that matters, what you leave in them.
Okay.
The values, the cultures, these are the long-lasting things. You can buy them the devices, the latest, and they keep on spending most of their time on this chatting folks. So I want to use the shorthand extensively. But what cultures or values are you living with them that, okay, when you are talking to an elderly person, you do this, or when you're doing formal writings to be me as a mom or as a dad, never use shorthands.
Okay.
Okay, so we educate them, we have the tools, but the values are most important. So I don't extend this to people even I don't know. So we teach them at homes, in schools. We do that every now and then. Occasionally, as a parent, you can check on your child's conversation. You have the right. We shouldn't give a lot of power to our kids. Scripture said something. Train up a child in the way he should go, so that when he grows, he will not depart from that. So if you are not training them and give them device and gadget and access to internet and not helping them out, we are spoiling our kids. So as parents, it's our responsibilities, as uncles, as aunties, this is what we need to do, that as much as we can communicate with them with the shorthands, listen, for this period, do this. For that, you need to check on them, help them. These languages have come to stay, they are not leaving. But we need to help them that there's a way to do it right and to do it wrong. That if you're not helping them, it means that they're going to mess up their future. They have the device, they have access to the world, but still not getting anywhere with their lives. It's very serious. And if you don't begin now, it will affect us.
Do you see any parent raising their child and getting them to know that this kind of language, you can't use it, even when you're chatting with your peers, and that child can really follow through with that?
Yeah, from my cousins and my uncles,
Yes.
they can do the shorthand very well. But formally, when you're doing formal writing, it's excellent because parents and relatives are let them know that you can use this in this settings. But when you're chatting with me or when you're setting things, you can do or write this fully in this form. It's helping them. Occasionally, they might slip in one or two in there. Some of them are acceptable. You know, some of these shorthands are acceptable. But most of them are not acceptable in formal usage. So that's where we can help them, that you can use this in this culture, but learn to write fully in every now and then. It helps even in your English. If I see anyone writing to me, whether WhatsApp or text me in this full, that looks so sweet to me. Very, very acceptable. I don't mean it to be grammatical mistake or errors, but because everything is full, this is more welcoming. I would like to read that message more than the shorthands.
Wow, wow, wow. How about like when we are communicating in speech, physical interaction, has that also come into our communication?
That is the social media.
The
Other
acronyms and or do we tend to speak and bring those things in? No.
Well, the social media language is a short form, isn't it?
Yes.
So you write, for instance, if you say, I am coming, you write A, then write M and write COMN. And that doesn't mean that when you are saying it, you are speaking it, it will be different. So I think that with speech or interaction, that's not yet affected it that much.
Then
it's mostly in the writing.
That line can be drawn, so
I
people
think so.
don't tend to speak bad English and all that.
As a result of the social,
Yes,
if
the
they
user-
speak bad English because they themselves have not learned to speak good English, but it's not because of the social media.
Okay, okay.
That's what I.
But what things do you think we should put in place now to check it? Because we are looking at a direction we are going now, and it's coming to stay, or it's come to stay. What things should we put in place, like in our institutions?
Basically, it's education. So when we don't educate people, the use of tools and devices or the things that they have access to, they tend to misuse earth. So if they are properly educated on how to choose or even filter through right and wrong information, what is good for me, what is not good for me, that's the good, best foundation that we can all start as parents, as teachers. We need to educate them that maybe the IT teachers that, okay, these are acceptable in social media, these are not acceptable in the